good weekend, and yeah, since it's the second half of the year, we can do some planning for the second half of 2020.
All right. So let's see. Yeah, because we're in the first of the third quarter, the first week of the third quarter now.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. I think I've got enough technology to confuse Apple.
And by the way, I hear the Apple stores are closed again. Is it true?
Yeah, they all voluntarily closed citywide. It's I mean, did you go down there when they reopened it all?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they were trying to get as many people by appointment as possible, and the reality of that was Apple was either behind or the lines were too much, and in Las Vegas, you know, it was 10, 15 degrees cooler, and that still had people coming in completely with temperatures and heat stroke from standing outside in the sun the whole time. So,
right.
So I don't know. This is just a big cluster mess up in regards to how all of it's being handled. You know, our whole society and what the governments are doing and whatnot. It's just a big mess. I mean, if someone's sick, you know, they're making them sicker by making them stand out in the sun, you know, completely getting too hot. I mean, my trick for getting into Apple was getting a bottle of water and just holding it on my forehead until they tested me, and so I could get in. They're like, "Oh, you're a good temperature, 65 degrees." I'm like, "Yes, I'm dead. So I'm already dead. You can let me in."
Good. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So, yeah, back to the second half of the year, which I'm sure would be better than the first.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yesterday, to start off the new quarter, which yesterday was the 5th, I was putting out more offers. I actually have to talk to one of our co-clients, lenders today. I'm trying to get the lender to approve multi-unit buildings for Brandon because, you know, he'll spend exactly the same amount for a duplex as a triplex, but the loan he's qualified for is only letting him go up to a duplex. And I'm like, there's got to be something different about that because it's a differential of almost $75,000 a unit. I'm trying to give him $75,000 extra unit dollars in his pocket, and the lender is fighting me on it. But I do have entry-level product line. I really want to get him into the cheapest thing I could find on the market that's habitable enough to where it could look like he wants to be an owner-occupant, but the concern is the lending industry is holding him back. It's almost as if, you know, this is these predatory lenders. It's almost as if they just want you to use as much credit as you've got so that way they could push you into a position where you have to default, and then they can start their collection process to take the property back. It's a little odd. So I'm going to have that conversation today with the lender to say, you know, hey, you guys are pushing him into a product line that's too expensive, and I can get him the same you know, an extra unit for the same exact price as a duplex. It makes no sense that you would do that because that's a difference in his income of $800 in his favor a month. So, I mean, in the back end, arguing that a little bit. Even Brandon's not aware that I'm trying to push for that right now. But anyway, that's my fight today after I hang up with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. I'm sure you'll get what you want.
I usually do. Takes a little bit of a fight sometimes, but I usually do. Let's see. In regards to Real Estate Made Easy, that program that we have. Well, we did have a glitch this week. Our marketing company, we were switching from, they accidentally gave us an offer to upgrade our software, and in that upgrade proposal, we took it, but they started billing us annually, and we were monthly before. So, and I think it was a mistake that Dagmar made, not a big issue though, but all we wanted to do is we told them, can you please, we accidentally somehow went to annual, we only wanted to be monthly, can you reconfigure us to be monthly, even if we're going to have to pay for the annual? It's only because I want my options open in the event that I don't want to be charged for a year and then get stuck with somebody that is not doing a good job. And their issue is customer service with this company, not being able to get a hold of anyone. So what they did is they just basically refunded 100% of the money and then discontinued the service. And I'm like, that's not what we asked for. We wanted to just go back to monthly billing. So the discontinued service and their customer service, you can't get anyone on the phone. And I understand that, you got the COVID crisis or whatever, but the issue is you can't get a major company on the phone. It's been now, we're on day 7 of having a glitch in regards to our marketing distribution because of somebody misreading their instruction or somebody who doesn't care enough to care at all. And so I'm literally doing what I can to reach out to the CEOs of the organization to see if we could bypass the tech team. It's just the customer service and COVID and all of that. It's just everywhere you go, it's a we don't give a crap attitude for the most part, which is a real disservice to the industry.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, no, we're still moving forward with third quarter. Yesterday I had, I think, 7 to 10 offers going out for investors. So we're still, moving forward. I've got you, getting coordinated to figure out what type of loan program you're going to get. Looks like Chris wants to commit to you, by the way.
Great.
So with with Chris committing to you on the loan modification, I think you saw in the email I pushed the price up about another $50,000.
Yes.
All right. So the goal is that he holds to that, but that will give you a little bit more liquidity as long as the payments where you want it. We just want him to tell you. Oh, he did say you have to move forward with tax filing. You saw that?
Yeah.
All right, and you have your appointment Tuesday, right?
Correct, tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So
right,
do you think I should still call Penny Mac or not?
You could. You could let them know that what you want to know what their policy is in regards to where they gave a forbearance. Do they have the ability, that you're off forbearance, to be able to do a refinance with their organization? And if so, what do they lend up to? I would still have the question because you want to know what your options are. And just as Chris had said, though, when he looked at the 2018, he was saying it was closer to 12, somewhere between the 12 and 15 for the annual income, which he's not, no one's surprised about that. That's what every business-minded owner does. It's just every time you want to buy something, that's for you to get as much passive income leverage as you can. But when you go to buy something, it doesn't look attractive to the lending eye. So you have to know that every time you want to go and make a purchase, that year that you're going to make your purchase in, you have to adjust your taxes to not have as many write-offs.
Yeah.
And of course, talk to the CPA when you're with him about that as well. Just let him know that, what I'm looking at doing is filing for this year, getting caught up, and I need to, be able to show all my taxes. And then after that's done, you could say, oh, I realized I made a mistake, I had all these write-offs, then you can do an amendment, but don't have the two conversations in the same conversation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, otherwise, that's where your last CPA had a problem.
And do you think the new CPA, when I tell him, basically I forgot all these deductions and write-offs, you have to say yes to amending, or could he push me and be like, no, I'm not going to amend them?
Usually they'll charge you a fee and do what you tell them to do. There should be no one that says I'm not open to amending. So,
okay.
I mean, I've amended before, and I've amended before with myself, and I've had a CPA amend as well. So, and my amendments have never been about amending to be able to buy. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. They have. When I was doing my own taxes, I would show up front, get on a plan for a payment plan on what I owe. I would then go out shopping, and then after I got what I wanted, I would go back and I'd do my own amendment, and then I would get credit back for what I overpaid from the IRS. So, if it makes sense, the CPA would be willing to do it. If you're talking thousands of dollars of deferment for a $500 amendment, then that's obviously worth it.
Okay, and if he asks, if he's smart enough, the new CPA you refer me, what if he asks me tomorrow? Are you intending to amend? Because he's gonna see that the numbers that I have to show different numbers for personal for 2019, which is different. He's gonna, which is different than what I did the last 2 years. So what if you ask me?
Just basically just say I ran my business lean in 2018, and because he needs to see your 2018s to stem into your 2019s. So just say I run myself pretty lean. Obviously, I don't want to, I want to legally not pay what I'm allowed to legally not pay. However, I want to be able to buy some things here coming up, so I want to be able to be able to show the lending institutions that I'm good for, the income. So let's go ahead and give the IRS what they want this year. That's it. And then 2019 work begins. Now, if you go to him a year from now and you say, I want to amend, you can. You can go and amend, I believe it's up to 3 years in reverse. So, you could make that decision 2 years from now to go back and amend.
No, but I would need to make it sooner, because otherwise in December they're going to hit me with a ton of student loans because it's based on income. So
Right.
The question is, is Chris going to expect me to pay all these taxes before he closes the loans like Andy?
Yeah, I would assume the answer is going to be a yes on that. I know that so this is where you have to, before the filing goes in, before you're going to give any CPA the green light to file, you need to look at, what do I owe? Is it worth paying because of the money that I get out of the equity of the home? If the equity in the home plus what you have is 70 grand and you have to give 20 of it to the IRS, that only leaves you with 50. If the equity in the home is not enough for more than, let's say, 30, and you have to give 20 to the IRS, is 30 enough for the investment to do this with you? You've got to look at that and be realistic. Is it worth it? Because again, if you get to that point where the CPA says, okay, cut your check for 20 grand, make it happen, that's when you need to go back to the CPA and say, you know what, I realize, I can't afford to do that this year. Let me go ahead and just file with the losses. I decided that I wasn't going to go that direction. Let's go ahead and draft this exactly the way it needs to be and submit it as the lien tax year. So again, you have, I mean, I'm not pressuring you in any way, shape, or form to jump through hoops to buy the property. That's going to be your pressure alone. There'll always be some opportunity in every market to try to get into, but I don't want you, you know, feeling like you're financially strapped either. So.
Is that a good question for Chris or not? Is he expecting me to? No. No. Tax questions based on a snapshot of time that you're doing the taxes are for your CPA. Lending questions and the goals of what the lender needs to see need to probably only have the conversation to that extent, because once, I mean, remember, they're all lenders are typically on recorded lines. They're only supposed to be saying, show us what you have with your taxes and let's move forward and help you get a deal based on today's snapshot. If they allude to how much income you need, which Chris did say, and I think even that woman that filled in for Wells Fargo over Jonathan, she even on her voice message and or email alluded to how much income you needed. So they gave the hint. That's what the CPA's, that's what your goal is for the CPA to justify that's available in your tax structure. So two banks did give you the hint of what they want to see from your CPA, but that's already pushing their boundary lines on their recorded lines. So you want to make sure that now when you go to your CPA, you basically show all of the income and little to none of the expenses to see if you hit that threshold that the banks have already mentioned. If that's the case, you move forward and all is good. Okay, no, what I meant is the question, do the taxes need to be all paid off, or can it be in payment? That specific question, like I just said, is likely going to be yes. It was a yes with Andy. Chances are it will be a yes in the whole lending industry. But what was the figure when you did it before? 25,000. Okay. So so that's why I said, because I pushed the price point of the home up with all of the information I gave Chris, is the same information you want to make sure that if you have a conversation with PennyMac that they are aware of as well, because if you take that extra income of the equity position and you do have to pay the IRS money, at least you can afford it. But did you ever do an amendment on that year that you paid 2025 with Andy? No, I didn't do it. Didn't do the amendment. Okay. So here's the scenario. If you do pay the 20 to 25, let's go back in time, and you paid that 2025, and you went to the IRS and said, I want to amend that year. I was wrong. I found my shoeboxes of receipts, and I want to amend that. Will the IRS give you the money back? The answer is, you know what, you could talk to, this is something you can talk with Kelly Tate about, is you could say, I had one year where I couldn't find my expenses because it was when I had moved, and I rediscovered those, but I had to pay almost $25,000 that year. If I go back and I amend that year, what will the IRS do with those prepaid, overpaid funds? Do they reimburse me and cut me a check, or, that's A, or B, do they give me a credit towards future taxation and reapply it as a carry forward credit? So the IRS, even though no one likes them, they will, as long as you have the proof that crosses the T's and dots the I's, they will have to either give you money back and for overpayment of taxes, or
give you a carry forward credit that you could apply from future year to future year. So I guess the question is, Kelly, if all this goes well and I need to amend my 2007s or whatever year that was, would the IRS be obligated to give me taxes back or give me my prepaid tax back or my overpayment back? And if so, is that in a one-time check or is it a credit over my future years? Let me know because I'm thinking about it. And then he might,
but when do I ask him that? Now?
Yeah, you could ask him that question based on something in the past, yes.
Okay, that was 2016, and it's now 2020. Can I go back? That was 2016 taxes.
That's a question for him. I don't know how many years you can go back, but remember, any year that you do amend opens up a relook by the IRS for an audit for up to, I think, 7 years after.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, it can be done. You just need to be prepared for a potential audit. All right? But yes, that's a question that you can, for the 2016s, have a conversation with Kelly about that. And then, again, though, if you move forward, just say, you know, I want to be able to, you know, I don't have all my write-offs at hand, so it looks like I'm going to have to pay a little more than I want. Let's go ahead and move forward with the taxes down the, you know, and then that's what you do. It's all about the intention at the time that you're in front of your professional. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's a little stressful, but.
Well, it is, because I know it's like, it's definitely stressful, but, you know, that's why you hire people to kind of do the back end. You collect the data, you provide it to them, and then they work with it. But unfortunately, you're doing a little bit of the shell game right now in regards to in this, you know, I have some money, I've got great credit, and I want to use it, but I also, on the other hand, want to defer as much as I can so I don't have tax responsibility or student loan responsibility. I understand both things, so that's where they say, well, you want to have your cake and eat it too? The answer for the rich is usually yes, you can do both, but you have to pay the price. The price is, you know, present everything to the IRS so they get their fair share, be willing to pay your taxes on that, etc. And then if you're in a bind and you need to, you know, go back and do an amendment because you have the write-offs that are there that show that you have the right to amend, then you do an amendment. Either way, if you do it as quickly as possible, then the 7-year look back or whatever that time frame is, I don't know exactly, but if it is a 7-year look back, that's when the clock is there anyway. So you may as well, you know, give it a shot. The bottom line is you're not evading, you are being responsible with the information that you're providing, and there you go. Again, on my end, you look at it as if the value of the Mesa property has all the value to give you all the equity that you need and more could go towards the responsibilities that you have. And if you, again, still choose to amend, you still have that option as well.
Okay. What is what do you think is the likelihood that Chris says I don't have to pay my taxes necessarily? Because how will he even know? Will he know? Yeah.
He will know because he's going to get a copy of the 2019s as a requirement. It's going to show that you have on the very bottom line a responsibility for, let's say he wants $70,000 of income. That might be a responsibility for you to pay, you know, with the write-offs that are standard deductions or whatnot, $20,000 if that's what he's looking at. If he sees that that's on the bottom line, he's going to say, where is the proof, since we are in the same month of buying this, that was paid to the IRS? And or is it on a payment plan? And if it's in a payment plan, then that affects your debt to income ratio, which affects your buying power as well. So it's better that it's paid off so you can buy more, have more buying power, because that's why a car is such a bad idea. When people use income to buy a car, that income that they have is reduced by, let's say, $500 of a payment. So easy numbers of, if you could afford a $1,000 mortgage and you cut into your $1,000, and well, let's say $1,000 will give you a $200,000 property. If you cut into $1,000 by $500 car payment, even though car payments are for a very short period of time, that car payment is affecting your ability to buy by 50%. So that's the same concept. So the IRS payment over time is the same concept. It will show up as a cut into your income and reduce your buying power by, by somewhere as close to 50%. So can you buy something for 50% on the dollar in real estate? Not usually. You can get a pretty good discount most of the time, 5 to 12% on average, but 50% is about one of every 50 transactions. So you're not making 50 transactions in a year to be able to see that reward.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll do what I need to do. So, okay,
you
let's
meet with,
get back.
You're going to meet with Kelly's office tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah. And today I'm supposed to have a conversation with my current one. And I'll just tell him that I'll let him off the hook. I'll say, well, obviously you don't sound comfortable.
And again, your current CPA or Kelly, either way, any CPA, you got to talk to them about, you might know there's 2 or 3 steps. You cannot talk to the lending industry or the CPA industry about all 3 steps or even 2 steps in the same conversation. It is, I am talking to the CPA about step 1, we're going to get through this, and then once we're done with this, oh, I made a mistake, I have to go back and fix it, let's do step 2. And then that's how they have to digest it. If they see step 1, step 2, step 3 in the same conversation, that looks like you're up to something. And even if the reality is financially you don't do it. Just because it was discussed, that was what is understood to be the intention at the time of the step 1 conversation. They're thinking, well, if they were only going to do step 1, why are we talking about steps 2 and 3 then? That's an intention issue. You want to, when you consult and talk about options and things that are available to you, understand this is just, information so you can make the healthiest decision for yourself. I'm not saying go out and take all 20 steps at one time. It's find the CPA, the attorneys, whatever you want, and then take those steps one at a time, have those conversations one at a time, and let them do their best job one step at a time. Because, again, multiple steps is frowned upon in the conversation with any of those parties.
Sure, understood. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Let's go back to you and your plans for the second half of the year.
All right, so second half of the quarter or the year is, let's see, we're going to find a way to strike a deal with Disney so we can get our staff on a company trip. However, their Disneyland has indefinitely suspended reopening, so there's no plan in the future that they've advertised for reopening California. In Florida, even though Florida is the epicenter, people in Florida don't care, so Disney is still opening in Florida. And however, they're only working with their annual pass holders or people who had tickets before COVID had begun to re-engage those people. So even though people may have had hotel reservations in the surrounding area like we did not have our tickets, so we are put on the back burner with them right now. However, I'm going to be in a conference with them in the next couple of days because we are going to take our team somewhere. I don't know where, but we should be going to Orlando, staying in a resort, and having a company celebration for all of our work last year, and have a company retreat. The goal is with Disney World, and also with Universal, which is open, but Universal's not top on my list. So that's that's kind of going on. Also, in the world of marketing, the goal is in the next couple of weeks to have the databases matching with all of our database platforms, with our lists, contact types, group types, etc. We're doing some list extractions for cell phone numbers, so that way we could begin the texting level of our marketing. Our marketing, as I just mentioned, has a glitch in it, which that should be worked out hopefully this week. Once our marketing is back up and running, focusing a little bit on the recurring. We also have the holidays that are going to start ramping up, that we're already building for. We usually are trying to build 6 months in advance, or at least start, so we launch on time. So we already have last year's holidays that we're going to replicate and add to while we get our recurring in place a little bit better. With ERPI 360, we are moving forward with an intercontinental translator, so we could have a intercontinental newsletter of what's happening in different markets for our realtors that are writing the newsletter article for their country, and that'll be their country economy and how it relates to the real estate industry, and what other organizations, countries could fit in their model. So that would be Article 2. Article 3 is what's happening on the tourism side of that country, so that way we know what to do and play and what's drawing that demographic. Article 4 is articles about what ERPI is doing and where our next event is. Article 5 is how to get involved with ERPI 360 around the world. And then there'll be Article 6, which is the article for our developer spotlight, what developers going on, usually related to that article in that country. So our development spotlight, and then we'll have some shameless marketing that will be allowed as the 7th article, but our goal is to keep it a 1-page, and then obviously it'll have all the Facebooks and the links that will take everyone back to all the websites. So that's a new content newsletter that is coming out, and we're implementing that on our website so people could pick the country article of their desire, and then it'll be meshed with a Google Translate feature, so it could be translated to anyone on the planet, no matter where the country's article is based. So that's what's being worked on that's probably about a month out based on the technology that we're currently working with. We're also implementing simultaneously a new shopping cart software. The one that we had before allows me to do sales, but that only puts the money in our pocket and doesn't allow us to disperse it unless we did it manually to our partnering companies. We are changing that. We're switching our shopping cart company out right now to a shopping cart company that gives us a little bit better of the Amazon effect of being able to have someone buy the Pizzini product line, the Dawson product line, a Platinum event, all in one transaction, and then all 3 parties get their fair share of the funds that they get. If someone's doing T-shirts, for instance, it has a drop ship capability, so we would even be able to literally sell T-shirts, mouse pads, anything, and they can have all of our branding on it as well. So that's what's being implemented. That's probably a month before we figure out that we're dangerous, 2 months before it's doing very well. There we go. Go ahead.
That's great. Good job. Good job. So, okay. The marketing is, as you guys have been increasing it, and it looks way better. Have you been getting any comments, responses from the email marketing?
Yes. So we had all of our marketing, as you've seen, has been pretty consistent on the holiday. Our recurring marketing for our programs has been hit or miss, but we're getting better at that as well. We have had feedback. So the feedback that we're getting is one title company has reached out saying, we're seeing and getting your marketing. Your marketing always catches our eye. It stands out much different than the rest of the industry. It's because it comes from us. We develop it in-house. That's why. And they said that they really like it and they'd like to meet with us in regards to, creating some business ventures. From an attorney, obviously out of sight, out of mind. Well, now that we're in sight and in mind, one of our attorney affiliates has said, hey, I need to know, do you do self-directed IRA investments? I have a client referral for you. And so they answered our 4th of July marketing that slipped out before 4th of July. This was actually literally 1 or 2 days before we had the break in the marketing software from the software company. So we got lucky that that went out. The attorney, we got a hold of the attorney. They gave us an investor out of California that he creates self-directed IRA pools, and they want to do pooled investments with the self-directed IRAs. So we've already met with him. So, right there, if we land those deals and he does what he says, let's say he does 5 to 7 deals a year, that obviously paid for the work at least for 1 year. So yes, we are seeing results.
Okay, fantastic, good. And what about with
the results are because of consistency. I don't know that it's the marketing itself. It is the consistency of just them getting it. That's really what I think it comes down to. Go ahead. What was the question?
Great. Yeah, I agree. And with social media posts, where are you at with those?
The I have not authorized. I've authorized replication into social media. However, I'm not allowing them to start with social media to put marketing out there. We are starting with the grassroots. We're building an email flyer, basically, that could be printable. And so we're basically designing brochure flyers with calls to actions that get people to a landing page to make a purchase. When we do that and we build it on our database platforms for CRMs first, like Google, our email databases, we have 5 of them. Once we build it for that and replicate it for those 5, then I allow them to resize photos to go into social media replication. If we started on social media, we would never get the emails out, and we would never really hit a database either. So we are doing it with a very strategic way. So because I have not allowed them to start with social media first, they have to master the foundation first. Once the foundation is perfect, they can replicate into the social medias. So we are on social media, we have a presence there, but we are not in-your-face marketing yet. But that will come. So that'll probably happen, I would say, in the next, let's see, if we are on the schedule that I just mentioned, we'll probably by 3rd quarter of the year have social media marketing in full swing by Thanksgiving. Are you there?
Very good. Yeah, and who's going to manage that, Dagmar?
I'm sorry, one more time on that last question.
Who's going to manage that, Dagmar?
No. So the positions in marketing are, we have the campaign coordination, and we have campaign and event coordination. So that kind of tells the campaign events and the campaign advertisements, that they have to be looking at the same thing. So we have one department for that right now. It could split in the future, but one requires you to know what's going on with events, and the other requires you to know what's going on with the holiday marketing. So we have an event and campaign coordinator. That's one position at this moment, which ties the 2 sides together. Underneath that umbrella, if we go to where all this starts, we have a position for campaign design, and that campaign design is literally the, basically taking the raw ideas and putting them into a visual presentation for the agents to give the approval on with the company. Then we have engagement marketing. That's the engagement of replication. So the campaign design builds it once for all other areas and programs at once, but then engagement is the social media person. That's a third position that has to monitor what's happening on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so forth. And that position right now is not a full-time, it's not even really even a part-time role right yet, because we haven't gotten our foundational piece mastered yet. Once we do, that'll make it easy for engagement replication on social media. What we've found, though, is even that is more than one position, only because we have multiple companies, so we have to assign the engagement to one person per company, and or two companies per one person, and that is a monster just by itself. So we see that developing into a full-time. Campaign design develops for all companies, but then the engagement, which is much more labor-intensive, is one person for one or two, and if they're any good at it, then they might be able to do 3 different companies, and that way they can engage for those companies on all social media platforms, which there's tons. I mean, I think we have a list of over 19 of them that are on our vision to be on. And, if you post one thing 19 times, that's at least 5 to 10 minutes per post. So you could just see right there, that's a full-time job. Then you have to monitor for the engagement, the feedback, the babysitting, coddling people, getting them to where they become a VIP. So I'm very clear on, I know what it takes. This is not something that just anybody can snap their fingers and say they can do. It's why so many people out there are failing. They might have a big audience, but they're sure not monetizing it because they're not doing what it really takes.
Okay, good job. Very strategic. Nice. Okay. So, okay, any other plans for the second half of the year that you can think of?
Well, once we start to understand, on the ERP 360 side, we're creating a filtration of these events, and they have to pass the filtration test of what are the travel restrictions, are there COVID quarantine requirements, how do we know if there's going to be a surprise one or not, what do we do to get a team in and out without financially wasting money, being able to hold the event, and so on. With that being said, we want to travel, but we don't really, we don't really have the ability to go outbound and take a team without it being costly. However, inbound, we could afford the risk of other people spending money to come to us. So we do have an event that's slotted for May 2021 with the Las Vegas Convention Authority here, and that is definitely on. And the other outbound events, there's one in March in Cannes. We do want that still to occur, but we're dancing around that lightly.
Okay, yeah. No, I understand.
And we are working on different ways to do these expos as an expo seminar workshop with breakouts, etc. I haven't locked in yet, but I should be locking in hopefully shortly, doing something with Tony Robbins in regards to his upcoming virtual UPW. My intention is to do that and have a lot of fun, but simultaneously to lock in the technology where he's more advanced with his technology, to utilize some education from that to adopt it for us.
Oh, very good. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Okay, very good. You've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. And do you create vision boards for the team that you keep at the office, or?
No, we do an event usually every year to launch the year, so that's not on our agenda till next January.
Yeah, because obviously this year you've had to revise the vision because of
yeah, no, everyone's still focusing on their current visions. Yeah, they're still working on the current visions for 2020. We're just adding in the hurdles and doing everything we can to understand what the word essential means. So.
Yeah. Okay. And your own health has been really good, right?
Yeah, it's been fine.
Yeah. Do you know cases of people who tested positive in your network?
None. Zero.
Wow, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, you know, I've heard that there'll be always a story of someone say, oh, I know someone with this, and I'm like, oh, did they show you your COVID positive paper? And the answer is always no. And I'm like, well, then how do you know? How do you know?
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to be able to trust people, but there are a lot of people that embellish to get a bigger reaction, if you know what I'm saying. So, so, you know, there's a lot of people that are saying that I had it or you know, or whatnot. And I'm like, really? Well, I don't know if I had it or not. And everyone's like, well, your symptoms, this or that. And I'm like, okay, well, I could live and choose to focus there, but I wouldn't be getting anything done. And I was only really, even though I was sick for a solid 2-week period of time, I was only energetically down 2 days of that. And on the third day, I was coming out of it, but I had energy the whole time, even though I was coughing or had the fevers or whatever. I still had the energy, and I was still, you know, wanting to work or choosing to work. So, you know, but the other thing too is, who cares if I had it or not? If I did have it, and I start to expand on that story or add on to the embellishment of it, if I add up the value of that, it would equal 0. So what's the point? And I see that so often. Actually, that seems to be my theme out of every meeting we've been having over the last week, is that all these wonderful stories that people have, and they're true, and they're even justified by friends and family or whatever, to understand that the excuse did exist that held them back, and we all get it, and it's true, but it's not empowering, it doesn't serve anyone, it doesn't put money in anyone's pocket, so what the hell's the point? Let's go find a different story, let's create a different life, and say, okay, yeah, I was sick, but this is what I did because I was sick, and I made money, and I went and did, or I went and built a relationship, or I went and took that trip I wanted to do because, oh yeah, I was sick at the same time, but I figure it didn't matter because sick equals 0 result, and going and do these other things gave me a different result of, let's say, a level 10 out of 100, but at least it's a 10 and I got something out of it, and guess what, I was still sick, but I got a result compared to, you know, a always me story that held me back on my ass. Both are true. Which one do you think is better though? So,
yes.
There you go. That's my theme of how I've been speaking lately, in my tolerance of listening to other people's BS, basically. COVID or not, you could still survive financially. COVID or not, you could still travel the world. COVID or not, you could still go buy that thing that you wanted to buy. COVID or not, investments are still happening. So why do you keep a story that makes you nothing? It's not even that it's a lie. I can tell you, I'll even say, look, I'll give you 100% validity that and justification that that story is true. However, we have to face the fact that it equals nothing. So let's go find different stories that could also be true, or even if they're fantasies. Even if it's a fantasy, you can create it, and if it equals a 10% growth of your motivation and your will and your mind power, then that's more valuable as a story, blatant lie, and a fantasy than the truth that equals nothing. So
Yes.
anyway, with that, all right, what else do you need out of me? Otherwise, I'll let you go.
No, it sounds like you're really solid on your plans, and good job. Your team is coming together more nicely, you know.
Well, the team is.
And, yes.
The team is basically, they constantly have to raise the bar. They get pushed, whether they choose to raise the bar or not, different story there, but they're constantly being pushed to raise the bar. They're giving the opportunity to raise the bar. They're being shown by team example of, you know, where non-participation or non-self-growth equals the story that they live in. They're getting pointed that out all the time. So not only are the seeds planted, the plants are growing, the ivy plants are growing, wrapping around their legs and their throat, choking the hell out of them, if you will, but they can't ignore it. Now, I always have, as the heat is on and the pressure builds, there's always some of the associates that, you know, squirm or jump out of the pot, but the reality is that's okay. You know, I never really have to fire anyone that hasn't mentally fired themselves first.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. Okay. Good job.
Usually they jump out of the pot on their own first, so.
Yes, yes. Even Jody sounds more motivated.
Yeah, Jody's doing amazing. She's actually here. She actually just got here in the room, so.
Morning, Elena.
Good morning, beautiful. Good job on everything you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So Jody's drank the Kool-Aid. It seems to be helping her with her cellular restructuring, and her mentality is definitely night and day difference of where she was before. She sees the methods behind the scenes and how they equal the results of the future, and how she has to work on the future result in the now. So definitely, you know, what we discuss here, it's definitely helpful to people in general, no doubt about it. And what we do here is helpful to people in general. And because it happens to keep us all employed and in a non-essential market, then you know, I say that's good.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, if you want to save a half an hour, and jump onto something else, I'll talk with you. I guess we'll recap throughout the week or by Sunday.
Yeah, yes, sounds good. So I'll, yeah, sounds good. And you and I will be in touch anyway, yeah. So, great. All right, so good job. Let's have an amazing week to start this new quarter, month, and second half of the year. And bravo.
Okay. All right. I'll talk with you later. And then if anything develops on your end, let me know. If
Sure.
anything develops on my end with Chris, I'll let you know. As soon as Chris gives me the approval to go shopping, I'll have to get updated paperwork from you. Maybe I'll get that set up anyway, regardless. As soon as I know that we've got a green light, though, I'll get the paperwork set up so we could start having offers go out.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right.
For the paperwork, I may be in California for a week in 2 weeks, but we can do it remotely, right?
I would say no, only because I'm going to be putting you on a template. The template will allow me to shop for you and see what comes back. If you're on a digital template, the digital template will timestamp specific days and times that don't exist in the offer. So we would have to wet signature template so I could have them dated and timed when they are actually live. That also means while you're traveling, you could give me over the phone or email written permission to move forward on a counter or an addendum. So because you're going to leave in 2 weeks, what I'll do is I'll put together the paperwork this week, and then we'll get together here sometime this week when you're free. What day are you open?
I can,
Why don't you email me your first choice, second choice, and third choice, and then when I get your email, I'll have my calendar checked and we'll arrange, and then I'll just pop over, or you can, I know you would prefer not to go out in COVID land, but I could pop over to your place if you want, and then we could knock it out. It'll take me 10 minutes to do the paperwork with you.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
I could do Wednesday,
and then-
Thursday, or the weekend. But when is the soonest you have it?
Just email me, and one of those 3
Yeah.
days will work. We'll move my schedule around you. Just tell me what works for you. I want you to be able to focus on your what makes you money, and then if I could get fit in, I'll lock in on one of those 3.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you
good job.
later. Bye.
Looking forward. Good job. Bravo. Ciao.
All right, see you in a few days. Bye.